It kind of made me a little bit more dedicated each time I heard that. Each time somebody would say, your little business, that fuels me even more.
Welcome to Becoming Better with Jeff Ponders. We deal with who we are, where we've been, where we're going, and who we're becoming to get there. It's time to leave your ego at the door and deal with real life. It's time to become better. Welcome to the Be Better podcast. My name is Jeff Ponders II, where we talk about who we are, who we want to be, and who we're becoming to get there. Today, I am excited to have my friend. It's been a couple years now.
Yeah,
We've been
about 3 years.
Man, I still didn't have hair. But friend, client, is a wonderful human, Danielle Parker, CEO and co-founder of Detroit Maid and Clean Break, as our guest for today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Guess what? I didn't give you any prep questions on purpose.
Not a single one. And I am really interested to see what is going to happen.
Awesome. So let me tell you guys about Danielle. So Danielle is a serial entrepreneur. She's been running one of the leading cleaning services in Metro Detroit for the last 5 to 7 years. 8 now? Mm-hmm. Is it 8?
8 years.
It's like a kid, just keep growing older.
Yeah, I know.
Which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Adding years to that number makes things better, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So for the last 8 years, she's been running one of the leading cleaning services in Metro Detroit. But over the last 2 years, you've been expanding into new markets. And it's been crazy.
So crazy.
So crazy. Like the pandemic happened and things got, what's the word?
Turbulent.
True. Turbulent. I was going to use my favorite word, which is better.
Oh, definitely better.
Which is crazy, right?
Crazy.
So Danielle, I'm excited to have you here. Thank you. I'd love to hear, your journey to becoming an entrepreneur. So 8 years ago, you say, I'm going to take this leap. How'd you get there?
So before that, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I just didn't know exactly what to do. I've done PR, I've done a few different things, and I hadn't quite found my niche. And I felt like it was this perfect storm. I was working in Lansing, I was doing lobbying, and I know that the two things couldn't be further from each other, but I was doing lobbying in Lansing. I was working from home 2 days a week, commuting 3 days a week. And the last thing I wanted to do was clean my house. And I was thinking, like, I love my work, but I want to do it when I want to do it. And I want to have the freedom to do whatever I choose and to live on my own terms, to generate income on my own terms and solve problems. But I didn't know exactly what problem to solve. And I was looking for a cleaning service. And that's really how it happened. I was looking for a service. I couldn't find one. I looked all over the city and nobody just had that ease of use. I couldn't just pick up an app or, pick up my phone and just do it quickly. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think I could do that. I have the skills. I'm good at building teams. I know how to clean. I think I'm going to try this. So I was already busy and I was crazy enough to decide, like, you know what? Well, maybe I can squeeze this in. So I would, do a cleaning job in the morning, drive to Lansing, do a cleaning job in the afternoon, and just start building it out. I worked with the Build Institute to build out the business plan. And I just said, you know what? In 3 years from now, I'm going to make sure that this outpaces my day job. And I did, so 3 years later, I was able to, say, I think this is it. I'm done. I sit on the board of that organization now. And I'm able to actually do work that I love and be independent. And I feel like, I feel really proud of it. Really,
I mean, you could kind of be proud of having a dream and a vision and actually making it happen. I mean,
yeah.
I suppose if there's something to be proud of, that might be one of those things, right? No, that's really, really cool. So you said you always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's ironic because my parents, they owned a pizza shop, pizza shop when I was 12. They are the least entrepreneurial people you'll ever meet. And it was like, they were, they're very, my mom and dad, just very wise. My dad, God rest his soul, he passed away 3 years ago. My mom, both very savvy people. And my mom was like, I want to, retire. And, she's very much of a planner. So they decided that they were going to buy a franchise. It was a terrible idea. And so they're not entrepreneurial. They didn't like it. They didn't enjoy it. But that 3 years that they had the business, the action of them saying, okay, we're going to save to get a franchise, the action of them getting up early and working hard and creating these jobs and these opportunities for people, it was so intriguing. I was a little kid and I would, run pizza around for tips. I would sell pizza to my teachers and my classmates and things like that. And I was like, this is really cool. You can set your pace, set your own tone. And it wasn't for them, but oh my God, it was for me. I was like, I want to do this. Yeah. Whatever that thing is, but I want to create opportunities and I want to be able to do it on my terms. And so watching them do that, it just really intrigued me. And it took a while for me to say like, oh, this is the thing. And then there's going to be another thing and another thing, Right. So I would say that my parents actually planted the seed and they happened to be like, oh my God, what are you doing? But yeah.
I can imagine that leap of, they have a business. It doesn't work out the way they wanted it to. Yeah. And then you say, I'm going to start a business. They say,
no.
No. Wait, Kevin Hart say, no. So that in mind, let me, for that period of time between, middle school, high school, and you actually launching the business, it's a long time, but you knew you wanted to.
Yeah.
So what kind of stood between you and doing it for that period of time?
So I didn't, the idea for Clean Break itself, or for Detroit Maid initially itself, that came in 2012, started the business in 2013. Before that, I did PR, and I've always I'm a storyteller. I wanted to be able to create that for other people. So I did that before that. I started doing PR. I had a company called Wordsmith Communications. And, but one thing I realized from that, similarly to my parents, that ain't for me. And I realized that that is a passion in telling stories of things that I'm passionate about. But I also, again, wanted the freedom and the flexibility and the control to decide and discern for whom and what stories I tell. And in the role that I had created for myself, it just wasn't necessarily the best fit. So, tried a few things. I ideate, this doesn't work. Okay, ideate, this doesn't work. Really, Detroit Maid has been the first that I have felt throughout the entire process. Man, this is for me. And this is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I still feel like, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this.
Oh my God.
So yeah, for sure.
Man, so that's, first of all, it's really cool to hear stories of trial and error and failure, and more importantly, when you don't find alignment.
Yeah.
I talk to hundreds of entrepreneurs every year. And one of the hardest things is when you talk to somebody who's like, yeah, I'm about to start this business. And you listen to how they talk about it, or how they're preparing or not preparing. And you say, I don't want to crush your dream. I would encourage you and give you tools to help you figure out whatever it is you need to figure out.
Yeah.
But who you are right now and the thing that you say you want to do is not in alignment.
Yeah.
And even harder if you really take the leap and go full force, full time at something, only to see it fail, not because it wasn't a good idea, but because it just wasn't right for you, either in general or at that time. What was it like navigating this experience of, I know I want to run my own thing. I want to be able to control my own destiny. And I'm going to come back to that in a moment too. Navigating that experience and, dealing with I don't know if the word stigma is the right term, but dealing with the failures that come from trial and error, literally trial and failure.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
It's definitely hard. I think that just the fact that there are enough signs and signals that it's worth it that make the hard parts that much easier. Because I know for me, it's definitely, I would definitely sometimes be affected, like, oh, I wish you would understand what I'm doing. Family and sometimes close friends. Why are you doing this? Yeah. But just it kind of made me a little bit more dedicated each time I heard that. Each time somebody would say, your little business, that fuels me even more. I don't have to tell you anything about my little business. You're just going to know. I don't have to tell you anything. Oddly enough, I don't really talk in certain circles, where, maybe family circles or where there has been sort of a pushback or misunderstanding.
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't have to understand, but you know now. So I don't have to tell you anything.
Woo! That confidence, and it's interesting. It's funny. I could see somebody looking at that and saying, but as a person who's also been there, where you say, hey, you may be a friend, you may be family, but you may not be a supporter of this part of my life.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. How'd you come to terms with being okay with that?
The 4 agreements, not to get all, weird, but the 4 agreements is a really great book that I absolutely love. And it talks about, being impeccable with your word. It talks about not taking things personal. Mm-hmm. And it has really, really, truly helped me. I used to be truly affected when it comes to, family and loved ones, not necessarily understanding my past. And I think that recognizing that we all are doing things so much, everybody has their own thing. Yeah. And people don't always understand, and that's totally fine. I think that's been helpful reading that book. And also I had a really eye-opening experience with a good friend of mine, and she's really important to me, really one of my best friends. I've known her for 30 years. We've been friends since we were little babies. And I was telling her about these big goals I had, and she was just silent. And I felt so personally offended by it. And it happened a few times. And finally, probably the 4th time, instead of just just stopping, I was like, why don't you ever say anything? I took it so personally and felt like my insecurities tacked onto that, and it felt like judgment. It felt like silent criticism. And I finally addressed it, and she said, I'm not really familiar with what you're talking about. You're talking about, venture capital and all these things, and I don't know anything about that. So I don't have a lot to contribute to the conversation. I'm listening. And I thought, I read so much into that. I read judgment and criticism and all these things. And she's just saying, I don't really know about that, but I want to hear it. And I'm thinking, you know what? Don't take this stuff personally. Everybody's doing their own thing. And if somebody doesn't understand, it's okay. It is totally fine. So I think that those two, the book and that experience, were eye-opening for me.
That's beautiful. And it's funny. Part of me almost expected like
forget your haters.
I talked to my mama and she was like, why are you starting this business? You know what happened to me and your daddy? No. It's literally the opposite side of dejection, which is where I'm imposing my own feelings upon somebody else. Or better yet, I am reading myself through somebody else. Yeah. And that ain't got nothing to do with it. Yeah. And it's interesting because I think what's commendable about how you handled that is, one, you extended so much grace to her just by asking the question versus shutting down. Mm-hmm. And then how you process what she shared and that insight that you took away, which is it's okay for people not to understand. Yeah. I gave you grace with yourself and other people, mm-hmm. which is really, really hard.
It is.
Yeah.
I work on it often because it's difficult. Sometimes, obviously some days are good, some days are bad, but yeah.
How have you handled, as an entrepreneur, in particular as a person you've worked for other people, you work for yourself, how have you handled grace with yourself and throughout these different experiences you've had and ups and downs and, these moments where you look in, I'm assuming you've looked in the mirror like many of us had, like, man, I am effing up today, or this is not working, and having to be able to pick yourself up. How have you managed yourself and your emotions and your own ego and confidence?
You know what? I think it's different from day to day. I feel like entrepreneurship, and I'm sure you would agree with this, is so turbulent and it's exciting. It feels like a roller coaster. So I think on days that it's the most turbulent is when I need to do the least and be more quiet and meditate more.
Do you say medicate or meditate?
I said meditate. I stumbled. And I said, look, Freudian slip, medicate more. No, but meditate. And so I really think that when things are just crazy and I'm like, oh my God, why did I do this? I can't believe this. I don't have time for this. I'm so overwhelmed, or I don't have time to slow down. I don't have time to take 5 minutes to meditate. I don't meditate for long periods of time because I'm not good at it yet. But 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here. If I feel like I don't have time to do it for 5 minutes, I probably should do it for 10 because I'm like going. And being hypercritical, I can sometimes be hyper critical.
Say that again.
Hyper critical of myself. So that's something that's, top tier in terms of just giving myself a little more grace, a little more understanding. And I think that also helps with my team, extending, as I extend more grace to myself and I'm more, it's okay, Danielle, I can extend that same grace to the team. So
let's take it back to you being on somebody else's team.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us about some of the jobs that you've worked over.
Let's see. How about my most favorite and least favorite? Want to do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Least favorite. This is going to date me so much. I sold phone books. When I was in college, I sold campus directory, the campus yellow pages, door to door, carrying yellow pages. It was the worst. And I mean, this was in 2000, early 2000s. So they were already by then kind of going out. It was very salesy, and I'm not a salesy person. I do as much sales as my role dictates that I do. Yep. Favorite. I would say I have a few favorites.
Oh.
Yeah, a few favorites. I mean, I've always gravitated to roles that I was passionate about, but I've always wanted to do things on my own terms. So
Got it.
Entrepreneurship is the move. But I would say favorite would be working with an advocacy group that I'm on a board with this group now, but it's Michigan League for Public Policy, just helping to shape policy in Michigan and contributing in that way that it feels and felt really good. So I like that. Now it's not my job. It's just, something that I get to do because I like it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So thinking about you as entrepreneur, business leader versus you as team member, support of somebody else's vision. What are the differences in being a business leader and entrepreneur versus being on somebody else's team?
Yeah. When I get up in the morning, I feel like, yeah. Like now at 3:00, I might be like, oh my God, I might be like in tears. I don't know. But I think it's just that ownership of, my day, ownership of what happens next, the freedom and the flexibility to be able to be like, we're going to, with my kids, we're going to go outside and play in the snow right now, and I'm not going to get fired for it, Yeah. That makes all the difference for me. And then the responsibility / opportunity to be able to create jobs for people. I never, I wouldn't have that opportunity if I were exclusively a team member.
Right.
And that makes me feel humble. It makes me feel excited. It makes me feel like, man, it drives me because it's not just me.
So it sounds like you find alignment with being an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Were you able to find kind of similar places of alignment even when you were a team member too, though?
Yeah. I think there was always sort of a part of me that was like, I think every role that I've had, I've always felt like, oh, I could create this from this. It always inspired me to create something else within that. So right. I worked with New Economy Initiative, and that was another job that I just absolutely loved. And I was like, man, job motivates me so much. I'm encountering entrepreneurs every single day. I see entrepreneurs every single day. And I also felt like I need to be doing this full time.
Right.
So there was always that pull and tug. Man, I love this work. I need to be doing my own thing. Man, I love this work. God, I need to be doing my own thing. So I don't feel that pull and tug anymore.
There's an amazing power behind answering the call. Like I think there's like our souls speak to us.
Absolutely.
And like example, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Yeah. And that's perfectly like
absolutely.
As an entrepreneur, yes, because we need somebody to be on the team.
Exactly. It won't work.
It won't work if we're all just out here being free agents. But I think there's a lot of alignment with understand, like the power, there's a lot of power behind understanding who you are, how you're designed and fashioned, and actually answering the call from our souls to go do that thing. Absolutely. Whether it is creating, like, as an entrepreneur, you still find ways to be entrepreneurial in those roles. I create new things, or I need to create new things that involve creating new opportunities for people by building my own thing. What were the things that stood between you and just straight up saying, I've got to do my own, like you ultimately got there. What were some of those barriers that stood between you and really just making it happen and really, pulling the trigger and finding the right type of alignment with yourself?
Fear.
Word.
Definitely fear. I mean, the fear is still there. So it hasn't, it has never left.
Yeah.
Not once. But I think at some point I realized that that fear of failure isn't necessarily like, so what happens if you fail? Okay, I just fail. And so I think over time, I think some failures kind of demystified that. And it's almost like, well, I mean, I don't want to fail. I'm going to do everything I can to not fail. But if I do fail, I'm just going to get back up. So maybe I can just keep trying this. I think there were little deposits, like with Wordsmith Communications. It was like, this isn't necessarily my thing. And I really thought it would be. And for a second, I thought, well, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not really into the entrepreneur thing. And then I thought, yes, I am. This particular thing isn't for me at this time. Okay, I'll try this. Like when a problem arises, I want to solve it. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a problem solver, if I'm a communicator, maybe I should follow that.
Yeah.
And who knows what that looks like? I think that nobody's static. Who knows what that looks like? Next year, I might work somewhere or something. I don't really see it, but you just never know. I think just realizing that failure is not the end of the world. Yeah. I think that was a big game changer for me.
That's really fresh.
Yeah. And then I think over time, they're just little kind of deposits in my confidence jar. Like, okay, I tried this little thing. I was in the Build Institute and my teacher, he asked me what my goals were. And this was 8 years ago. And he said, what are your goals? I said, I want to be able to outpace my job in 3 years. I want to be able to create jobs for other people. And I want to have a service that people feel is accessible. That they don't think it's like some hoity-toity thing, but it's just like, I'm busy and I need to outsource and here's the service. He said, okay, strategy for that part. And then he said, okay, the dollar amount that you want to make. The dollar amount that I said that I wanted to make was less than what I was making on my day job. Really? And he said, so how do you intend to outpace your job if you're setting a goal that's lower than your annual salary? And I was like, I was scared to actually say it. I was scared to say the numbers. You know that because I still struggle with that.
You get a little trigger shot sometimes. It's true. Yep.
And so just pursuing that and actually executing it. Okay, I think I'll try for a higher number. And we hit that. You know what? I think we can hire one more employee and tell our story, tell what we're doing. Get enough business. Okay, we're doing that incrementally, just little deposits in the confidence jar. And it just kind of is building on each other day by day.
You gave me so much to work with there. My God. First of all, that makes a ton of sense. And, it's one of the things I think about life is a lot of times we go in expecting like just these magnanimous events to happen. Like, oh my God, the world just explodes and all the money pours out. Yes. It's coming out the center of the earth. The core of the earth is just shooting money up in the sky. We got all of it. Or, we go from being 0 to 1,000 overnight, and it doesn't work like that. It is really on both sides, whether it's about growth or contraction. And it is about these deposits that happen over time that add up, and just being consistent. Like example, you kept shooting shots,
yep.
And you eventually shot one that worked well. And it's working and continuing to work, going to raise money and do more. Yeah. Like this is great. We have to be consistent in our efforts, and also being conscious of the types of efforts we're making. So we're feeding ourselves good things versus the bad stuff. What is the biggest mistake you have ever made? And this doesn't have to be professional. I mean, like when you look back, you say, man, I messed up.
Oh, that's a good one. I made a ton. I got to think about that one. Oh, yeah. This is getting into the like real deal heavy stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, let's do it.
I feel really proud of myself about this. But so I have I have bipolar and been thriving for like 16 years or so, whenever I was diagnosed. And back when I was diagnosed, I just felt like I just keep screwing. Why am I screwing up? Like, I don't get it. I'm not a finisher. I don't finish things, like, why doesn't my brain work? Like, I can't concentrate. I can't focus. I'm depressed. All these things were happening. Didn't know that I had bipolar. I felt when I got diagnosed, I felt like Theo when he was diagnosed with dyslexia. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, I just have bipolar. So, but during that time period where it was such a low point for me, I was so hard on myself. Like, I just felt like, why can't you do this? Like, you are not stupid, or what is going on? You're not crazy. And I just beat myself up so much. And I lost so much time viewing a medical condition as sort of a deficit, or just like poor choices, like something that I could control and fix.
Yeah.
And because I felt that way about myself, I made really poor choices. I felt like, why are you doing this? Why, you are just a piece of crap, and I think just the mistake was not, oh yeah, bipolar and you're screwing up. The mistake was viewing myself so negatively for such a long period of time, and just kind of looking at things like, you suck, And so I think to be in a space now where I'm like, you know what, man, like just to see how far I've come from that space I feel appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And to look at that window of time where there were a lot of, I don't even want to call them missed opportunities. I started to say missed opportunities, but that wasn't the case. That was the season I was in. But that period of time where I was just so hard and rough on Danielle, that was a mistake. If I had it to do over, I would extend myself some grace. I would, just listen to my doctor and, be more cognizant of my health and just live life and be okay with me, be gracious and take things one day at a time.
That makes a ton of sense. So not crying today.
Oops.
No, you're fine. I'm talking to y'all about like, me. What? I ain't crying today. No, as somebody who works with you would never have ever imagined, certainly, would, if I had to put money on it, I would have lost all the money. Like, hey, let me put my company on. No, not happen. Like, wouldn't have never happened. But first of all, thank you for sharing that. And it's an interesting way to approach the mistake of how you handled yourself. In the better process, like there's a process. It's in the book. Yay. And it's really built on these 3 phases of who am I? Who do I want to be and who am I becoming? And who am I is the first part. And you just spoke to it really eloquently, which is the idea that, can I look in the mirror and look at who I am today and who I've been from day zero, from the moment I was born, just my entire history of humanity as an individual, and accept myself for who I am, who I've been, my wins, my losses, my heritage, just I'm okay, and being able to be gracious and loving to yourself.
Absolutely.
And I went through, that was the experience I went through. That was a hybrid of, trying to, a lot of it for me stemmed from trying to fit into corporate spaces where I felt like I had to wear a mask, and couldn't be my authentic self. And I felt like I crumbled under the weight of trying to fit versus trying to figure out where I belonged. But I wasn't kind to myself, and I had to I literally looked in the mirror with the ugly cry face. I'm like, I love you, man. And so to hear you, talk about coming to accept yourself and your experiences, and the triumph that's happened in that is amazing. Like that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
That.
So that in mind, how about this? So today, I'm going to ask every person, every guest on the show, on the podcast, I ask everybody this. So today, this moment right now, it is the youngest that you'll ever be again. Ever. Okay. Who do you want to be when you grow up?
Who do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be... that's a great question, man. A nurturer. My family is everything to me. So being able to nurture my children's gifts and I guess when I grow up, so my grandchildren too, whatever, and build the kind of support system and environment for them that allows them to feel like I can do anything. I can do anything and everything, and also recognize realities of life, that perfect combination of being cognizant of the world that we live in and also feeling empowered to do any and everything that they want to do. That's something that's really important to me for creating that space. Really, really stepping into what I believe I've been gifted to do is to solve problems. So we're talking about Detroit Maid today. I look forward to talking with you about, the next venture at the next juncture. I'll be 40 in about 8 months. So, maybe, when I'm 50 in 8 months, we'll be talking about some other really amazing thing, that I created. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I look forward to.
Oh my God. Everybody's answers are always so different.
Really?
Yeah. And they're always inspiring. Like, it's not like it's nobody says, I want to be rich. We all want to be rich to some degree. Yeah. But it
comes.
Yeah. So I remember we had a conversation a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the entrepreneurial journey.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I would love to hear just from your words, like how you describe the entrepreneurial journey.
For sure. So I liken my journey to this really amazing trip that I took. We were in Kauai, on Kauai Island in Hawaii. And I was with a bunch of friends and side note, I have lost about 140 pounds in the last 10 years, still working, still moving. But this was about 10 years ago. And so I was heavier and I was a little bit less active and had a lot of trouble I had trouble getting around. And so we were, walking, the goal was to zip line. And I was like, zip lining, it's been on my bucket list forever. My vision board, this is going to be great. And so I'm with a bunch of friends. And of course, all of my friends are gym rats and I'm not. And so, so they're like, yeah, so we just have to hike about 1.5 miles up this mountain. And then we're going to go across the zip line and it's going to be awesome. And I'm like, yes.
You say yes.
This is gonna be great. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. First I got to see if I can even get on the zip line. First of all, because there's a limit. I just made the limit. There was a part of me that wished that maybe I didn't. Like, oh man. So go up this mountain. The mountain, just walking up the mountain, I was like, I wanted to stop at least 5 or 6 times. And my best friend, she's like, I'm walking right here beside you, so she's walking, she's 100 pounds soaking wet, but she's like slowly walking with me and everything.
That's a good friend.
Good friend, great friend. And so we're, doing our thing. We get to this rickety bridge and we're getting closer to the actual zip line. And I'm thinking, okay, I finally made it to the zip line. I feel really proud that I just walked 1.5 miles because it wasn't something that I was capable of doing at the time. So I felt like, yeah, I did it, and I feel that way often in entrepreneurship. And I get to, the top, we cross this rickety bridge with big gaps and spaces overlooking this babbling brook that was beautiful, but I was terrified. So I'm like, what if I fall off this bridge? But you know what? I got this. So I'm walking across the bridge like, okay, I got this. We get to the first zip line and I'm like, I'm about to get on the zip line. I'm a badass. I'm about to get on this zip line. I'm exhausted. My back hurts. My legs hurt. But I'm about to get on this zip line because I'm a badass.
Right.
I slide across the zip line and it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life. My feet were hitting the treetops and everything.
That's not supposed to happen.
What'd you say?
I don't think that part's supposed to happen.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it just grazing them.
Okay.
Just it's okay. Yeah, it wasn't like, watch out for that tree. It was just like, it was really nice. It was a beautiful feeling.
That's awesome.
And it was very top. So it was like, what?
It was like tickling your toes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so it was awesome. And I felt like this is so amazing. And then, got to the end and I was like, whew, like I am so glad I did that. And again, I feel that way with entrepreneurship so often. Like I can't imagine, like this is such a great feeling. Like I'm owning what I'm doing. I'm creating these opportunities. I'm solving problems and changing things. This is amazing, And then I stop, and I'm like adjusting myself. The next damn zip line is longer. And I was like, this is going to be great. It's even longer. Halfway through the zip line, I'm like, this is terrifying. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to go back. But you can't go back. You're on a zip line, And it felt so long. I felt like, okay, the novelty is kind of wearing off on this. I'm scared. I just want to be done. I can't do this. By the time I get to the end of that zip line, it was back to that same exhilarating feeling. I felt like, this is amazing. I have never felt like this.
Yeah.
The third zip line, same feeling, repeat. Okay? Yeah. There was one zip line left, that fourth zip line. I was like, okay, I'm in a groove now. Like I kind of know what I'm doing. I think this is like, I'm flowing. And I have felt like that as well. I felt like, like, okay, I got it. Like, this is cool as an entrepreneur. Like I've been kind of doing this and I know this. I hop on that zip line. It didn't feel like any of the others. And it was the scariest, most turbulent. And I started to cry in the middle of going across the zip line. And I was like, and I look back at that and entrepreneurship feels the exact same way. It feels amazing and exhilarating and sometimes really, really hard and exciting and scary. But every step of that zip line felt worth it. And I feel the exact same way. And even towards the very end, that very last zip line, I'm coming close to the end and my friends are at the end and they're going, and I'm like, I can't hear what they're saying. And like, there's all this, their commotion and everything. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? They're saying, pick your feet up, because if I had left my feet hanging there, they would have been gone because of the momentum.
Yeah.
I would have slammed right up against the thing. And I'm like, again, it's the same thing. Like if you're not, really, really cognizant of what you're doing and you're not really like focused, you can make some mistakes that could be painful.
They might impair you for life.
Yeah. So it's sometimes dangerous. It's scary and so, so worth it. It's one of my favorite memories. I always refer back to it. I love having had that experience. And, I think that we're cut out for different things. And I think as an entrepreneur, I think most entrepreneurs can relate to that cycle of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Of just, this is amazing. This is terrible. I don't think this is a good idea. This is a great idea. I'm about to solve all these problems. This is so perfect. I nailed it. I don't know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I got this,
I screwed the whole thing up. Oh my God, we got it all right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is an amazing analogy.
Long one.
No. I was on the zipline rides, plural, with you throughout the whole thing. Man, just kind of looking back at your journey, what are you most proud of?
Feeling the fear and doing it anyway. When people say people are fearless and stuff like that, I don't know that. I'm not fearless, but I do believe that I'm courageous. And I think that being afraid of something and just saying, go for it and just doing that, it really empowers me. And now I almost feel like I'm almost like a junkie for that kind of action of just, this is scary, but I'm about to make it happen. I'm gonna figure it out. When we talk and we have our sessions and, just a week ago, we were preparing for my next pitch meeting. And I'm like, we need this, but I'm afraid to ask for it. So I'm going to ask for this. You're like, you need to ask for what you need. I changed it that day. Ask for what I needed. It's going to happen. So I'm proud of being able to feel the fear and pursue whatever that thing is.
Man. I feel like I'm in church right now. Man, a couple more questions for you. That I hope y'all are paying attention. That was really good. So as you think about, we talked about what's next and this idea of you being nurturing and continuing to be a problem solver, continuing to be courageous. What are the things that you're doing, the kind of decisions you're making on a daily basis to continue to grow in order to literally manifest and walk in that type of persona, the person that you are and consistently becoming?
So I'm kind of boomeranging because I'm slowing things down. I want to be more present for my family. So I'm recently in a space where I'm planning more long-term. So, okay, for clean break, these are what my goals are. And does this align with what things look like for my family? I'm, saving more, investing more so that long-term things, I'm not in a grind. So the freedom that I value now is, I expect that it'll be multiplied. I want to, build more, grow more, and do less.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm working really hard on.
So what are you doing in order to grow into that?
Sorry,
okay.
Yeah. Basically just planning and mapping things out. I follow this map that some days that map doesn't get looked at. It doesn't get touched. Yeah. But other days, some days are better than others, but it's a basic Google sheet that I use. And I just prioritize everything. So it's like, is it a level 1? This sounds kind of, I don't know what it sounds like, but I have the task. I have whether or not it's completed. I have the date, the goal date that I want to complete it, the notes, and I have the level, the priority level. So it's what priority is it, 1, 2, or 3? And then what level is it, A, B, or C? C takes a while. B, kind of mid-range. A is quick. A is a phone call or a quick email or a text message. And I sort it. The goal is to sort it daily. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. But I sort through those things and it helps me kind of stay on task. I have a vision board. Okay, what do you want this year? Our family at the end of last year, we all sat down and we're like, okay, what do we want? Everything from the almost smallest to the biggest, not our 7-month-old, but she'll be doing it next year.
I imagine she has a couple things she's got on her mind too.
Milk.
Feed me.
Right. But we all sit down and we map out our goals, and we're still figuring it out. We're still learning, and I feel like I'm still learning and growing and trying to figure out, how to make things happen long term with regard to business and life. But I feel really proud of my progress with kind of merging those two and making sure that things are going smoothly. And
I love how you connected. That you didn't separate business and family. It's all interconnected. Yeah. It's funny. I feel like I know we've had conversations, but any entrepreneur I've ever worked with directly, with any level of depth, at some point we stop talking about business. We just got to deal with who we are as humans. Because we like to think that we can compartmentalize and be like, I'm me here and I'm business me here.
Yeah.
No,
it doesn't work like that.
that's not life. That's not real.
Yeah.
And if you try that, just you'll find out one way or another that that's not it.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this. So not just Clean Break and Detroit Maid, but Danielle, for our listeners and our viewers, how can we support you, what you're up to, and who you're becoming?
That's a great question. So, and not just Clean Break, Detroit Maid, but I don't know how to personalize it, but I do think we could all benefit from extending ourselves grace, because it seems like it always spills over. So, I think if you and, everybody in the room, everybody in the neighborhood, everybody who watches, says like, you know what, let me be a little kinder to myself. I guarantee it'll extend to a little bit more grace to other people. And then it'll hit me at some point, that'll also hit me. It'll hit you. It'll hit, it'll hit all of us. So on that front, I just feel like we all benefit from kind of the benefit of the doubt and grace. And with regard to Detroit Maid and Clean Break, follow us and stay tuned. Follow Detroit Maid on, Instagram and TikTok and
Are you doing TikTok videos too?
My old self is on TikTok.
Cool. Now, is it Detroit Maid still?
Detroit Maid. Yeah. Okay. Right now, it's Detroit Maid.
Okay. Should we also look up Clean Break just in case?
Yes. Yep. Clean Break.
Cool. Well, Danielle, I appreciate your time. This was so much fun and enlightening. So fun. Yeah. And you almost got me.
I almost got you?
You almost got me with a tear. I'm still
Denzel tear.
That's the John Q was the Glory. I can't remember
Glory.
That slow tear right down the cheekbone. But no, it's amazing. I'm proud of you. I am excited for what's happening. Please follow Detroit Maid and Clean Break and Danielle Smith Parker from the Be Better podcast. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. This has been so awesome. I appreciate you.